Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in amma ba'd. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul 'uqdata min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma. Inshallah bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we find that we have been talking on about, as we know, our special question and answer session, and we find that part 1 we discussed 3 questions, and inshallah now we want to have a part 2 in which bi'idhnillahi ta'ala we are going to go on with the questions. And I wanted to discuss a few things in regard to the men and the women talking together. So I find that also this one will be uploaded in Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday you will get the video and the audio. So inshallah we want to discuss about a little bit, because you know the last time question that about mixed WhatsApp group, there is some of the few things that I was able to get that is very much important. That when talking about conversation between a man and woman, whether it is in writing or it is verbally between the men and the women, it is possible in and of itself, but it may be a way of falling into the traps of Satan. And whoever knows that he is somewhat weak, he's very much weak now in his iman and that, and is afraid that he may fall into the traps of the shaitan, he has to refrain from such conversation in order to save himself. So find that sometimes you are a person who you don't have a lot of iman, you don't have a strong iman. So in that case, we tell you, my brother and sister, if you have a weak iman, don't fall into the conversation between non-mahram. We say that. And whoever he is sure that he will be able to remain steadfast, then we think that it is permissible in his case, but there are certain conditions. So even the same happens when you find that you are in the WhatsApp and maybe you want to talk with a woman who is your non-mahram. So there are certain conditions in that. The first is that the conversation, it should not be allowed to wander too far from the topic being discussed, or it should be for the purpose of calling others to Islam. Okay? So maybe you have maybe a non-mahram lady there, and she wants to know about Islam. She wants to know about Islam. In that case, we tell you, my brother and sister, that if you are a brother and you don't have any other person, any sister who is very much good in speaking with the lady, then we tell the brother now to do the conversation in a way that is best. And this is something that is really very much depressing. The fact that many of the women, the female people, they are not doing work. They're not trying to learn the religion of Islam. And we really tell you that you need to learn the religion of Islam, because you are the one who is going to bring up your child. You need to learn Islam. When you learn Islam, you will be able to bring up the child in the right way, in the fantastic way, in the way that Allah He wants. So in that case, we say that at least we should have female scholars. The problem is that we don't have even a female scholar. And if you have a female scholar, they are involved into the things which are haram, and sometimes even bid'ah. Very much shockingly, people that are going to Mawlid, you find that most of them, they are women. It is not shocking, because this happens. It happens, and we see it all over again. And over again, we see that the women, they are involved into the bid'ah things, the Mawlid, which are bid'ah, and other things which you find that they are bid'ah. They are creating things which you find that they want to create things so that to become close to Allah, and it is not permissible to do that. Yeah. So really, we need to have female scholars. If now we only have men scholars, it will be very much difficult, when we come to now have a conversation with the women, So really, I want to really tell our female daughters, mothers, sisters, all of them, they need to learn the religion of Islam. They go to a very reputable university and learn the deen of Islam there, inshallah. Okay, so that is very much important, and together with that, we have to know that so we are talking about the conversation between men and women. As you find that we are still finishing up with question 3, if it is allowed to have that mixed WhatsApp group, and I mentioned some of the conditions, but here I have to add some of the few conditions. Now this becomes when some people, they usually ask that if now there is a man, he wants to talk with a non-mahram woman, maybe about Islam, or if it is not about Islam, it's maybe a topic about maybe a secular topic, we don't know, maybe geography or physics, we don't know, it may be that reason. So he say that this person, that the conversation maybe he's doing about geography, it should not be allowed to wander too far from that topic being discussed, or it should be for the purpose of calling others to Islam. So maybe you're talking on the phone, or you're talking in the WhatsApp, or you're talking in the chat room, or you're talking in there's a live stream, chat room also they have it. There's a lot of ways they usually talk, Viber, the Facebook, and other ways. So we say that you should only talk about the topic you're talking. If you're talking about maybe the topic of English, then you just talk about the English grammar topic. If you're talking about the topic of physics, you just talk about the physics. Don't wander away from that topic, okay? Another thing that's very much important is that they should not let their voices be soft or use soft and gentle expressions. Now this happens mostly in the phones, when you find that you are trying to use a gentle expression or a sweet voice. We say that you should avoid the usage of the sweet voices, especially for the women. Now, if it is a woman who is not a Muslim, then it will be a little bit difficult. It's a difficult thing. Now the man, he has to be a little bit very much strong, in that case. So that is very much important in your iman. Very much strong iman is needed. When you are talking in WhatsApp, or when you are talking in another chat room, there are many platforms. Okay, so you should not let their voices be soft or use soft and gentle expression. Also, another thing, that they should not ask about personal matters. They have no bearing on the matter. That have no bearing on the matter being discussed, such as how old a person is, how tall he or she is, where he or she lives. So find that in WhatsApp, find that sometimes you ask a sister where she is living, or where she is staying, to know their whereabouts. You find that this type of question, we should try to avoid it, and maybe you have to only ask if there's a reason. You have to ask maybe if there's a reason in it. Okay, so you should not wander off the topic again, even that is the same way. And also other brothers, in the case of men, or sisters in the case of women, they should take part in the conversation or read the correspondence, so that the shaitan will find no way to enter the hearts of the people who are conversing or corresponding. So that you find that if there are other brothers now, like if now you are a brother who is talking with a sister, so you should give that conversation to one of your brothers and say, is it correct? You can go to your cousin, or you can go to your cousin brother in case of the brother, and for the sister, you can go to your cousin sister, or your sister itself, your brother or mahram. Ask them, look at it, is it correct? Is it the way that I've spoken with that woman? Is it the correct way? Okay, so this is very much important, so that no shaitan will find no way to enter the hearts of the people conversing or corresponding. And also another condition is that the conversation or correspondence, it must be halted immediately if the heart starts to stir with feelings of desire. So if you find that now maybe when you're speaking with a woman and you find that there's a desire wanting to meet her, wanting to do something, then in that case we find that we should stop the conversation immediately. Okay, that is very, very much important. Now that's question 3. That is question 3 bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So you find that in mixed group you have to also include these other conditions. Okay, so then now I want to go to question number 4 bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Okay, a person he was asking about, is a Muslim allowed to enter or to go in a church? A Muslim, he wants to go in a church. Now the thing is that he didn't give us the reason he wants to go to the church. So maybe you want to go to church maybe to listen to a lecture, or maybe you want to do something there, we don't know. Mostly churches, if you go to a church, the churches, they usually have only one thing in common, is that they are only responsible for giving people their Dawah. They also have their Dawah, which is now Christian Dawah, the missionaries' ways. But now, what is their ruling on it? So you find that when you're entering the churches for meetings even, or maybe you are entering now just to listen to a lecture, there is not free of a number of haram things, and some of which you find that we are going to discuss here. But first of all, I want to just give you the opinions that the scholars they had. First of all, just entering a church, when you just enter a church itself, you find that one of the opinions is that it is haram. So this is one scholar, he said that it is haram, and this is the view of the Hanafis and the Shafis. But the Shafis, they limit the prohibition to churches in which there are images, as it says in Tuhfat al-Muhtaj, Niyat al-Muhtaj, and Hashiyat Kalyubi wa Umayra ala Shar al-Muhalla. So they limit now the prohibition to churches in which there are images. So you just say that if you are entering into a church which has images, idols, then it is haram to enter into such churches. But Hanafis, they refuse completely to enter into a church, even if it has or doesn't have these things. So the Hanafis, they regard it as haram in all cases, and they gave us their reason, the fact that they are abodes of the devils, as the Hanafi Ibn Nujaym said in Al-Bahr Al-Ra'iq and in Hashiyat Ibn Abidin. Okay, so that is the Hanafis and the Shafis, who they say that it is haram to enter into the church. Okay, so number 2, some scholars they say that it is makruh, and this is the view of the Hanbalis, but some of them they limited this to churches in which there are images. Okay, so Hanbalis, they say that it is a makruh to enter into a church which has images. Okay, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimullah ta'ala, he said in Al-Fatwa al-Kubra, the view that most of our companions hold is that it is makruh to enter churches in which there are images, and this is the correct view concerning which there can be no doubt. Okay, you say like that. Okay, you find that they quoted the following as evidence, and you can see that the one which is saying it is makruh, especially where there are images, that looks very much closes the Quran and Sunnah, as I'm going to give you the evidence. The first evidence is that it was narrated from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu that the Prophet Salal-lahu Alaihi Wasalam, he saw images in the Kaaba and he did not enter until he had ordered that they be erased. narrated by Al-Bukhari. Also number 2, it was narrated by Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, who said that Jibril promised to come to the Prophet ﷺ, but he was late, and the Prophet ﷺ grew concerned. And the Prophet ﷺ, he went out and saw him, and he told him of his concern, and he said to him, "We angels do not enter a house in which there is an image or a dog." Number 3, it was narrated that Assalam, the freed slave of Umar radiallahu anhu, he said that when Umar went to Syria, one of the leaders of the Christians, he made food for him and called him, and Umar said, "We will not enter your churches because of the images there that are in them," meaning the statues, That is narrated by Abd al-Razak in al-Musannaf. So that is the view that it is makruh to enter into the churches where there are images, and you can see that they have given many reasons. When you go to a church where there are images, statues, and they have the statue of, I don't know, so the statue of I cannot really say. They're saying that it is a statue of Jesus, but in real sense it is not the statue of Jesus, but they are just making up things. Okay, so I find that this thing we should be very much aware of. Okay, another view, it is that it is permissible to enter churches in general, and this is the view of Hanbalis, as it says in Al-Mughni and Al-Insaf, and it is also the view of Ibn Hazm al-Zahiri, as it says in Al-Muhalla. And they quoted the following as evidence. Find the first evidence that what was narrated about the conditions stipulated by Umar to the people of the book to expand their churches and monasteries, so that the Muslim could enter them to spend night or pass through them. That was one evidence. They say that that there was a condition that Umar radiallahu anhu, he stipulated to the people of book to expand now their churches and their monasteries, so that the Muslims, they could enter to spend the night, or pass through them. Another evidence is Ibn Aid. He narrated in Al-Fatu al-Sham that when Umar, he came to Syria, the Christians, they made food for him and called him, and he said, "Where is it?" They said, "In the church," and he refused to go. He said to Ali radiallahu anhu, "Take the people to eat lunch." So Ali, he took the people and entered the church, and he and the people, they ate lunch. And Ali, he looked at the image and said, "What would be wrong if the Amir al-Mu'minin entered this place?" So you can see that this hadith here, now this is a story that happened between Umar radiallahu anhu and the Christians there, where Umar, when he came to Syria, you find that these Christians, they made food for him, and he called him and he said, "Where is it?" They said, "In the church," and he refused to go there, and he said to Ali to take now the people now to eat lunch. And you find that there now you can see that Ali, he entered the church and he saw the image, but didn't stop there. Okay. Now, by studying that evidence which I quoted above, it does not seem that there is any clear evidence that it is haram to enter churches, and the fact that there are images and statues in them or any other place does not mean that it is haram to enter it. The sin is on the makers of these images and those who make the statues. The one who enters a place where those statues are, they should... Wait a minute. The one who enters a place where those statues are, they should advise and they should explain, but he does not have to leave that place. Ibn Qudama rahimahullah ta'ala said that with regard to entering a house in which there is an image, it is not haram. Rather, it is permissible to refuse an invitation because of it as a rebuke to the host, and to show that he has lost respect because of his introducing something evil into his house. And the one who sees it in the host house, it does not have to leave. And according to the apparent meaning of Ahmad's word, he said, according to the report of Al-Fadl, if he sees an image on the curtain that he did not see when he entered, that is less serious than if it was on the wall. As it was said, if he did not see it until the food was placed before them, should he leave? Say, do not make things too difficult for us, but if he sees it, he should rebuke them and tell them not to do that. So that is now regarding into the house, but you can find that I have mentioned here the person who's asking if it is allowed. So we say that at least it is makruh, I can say that, to enter churches unnecessarily without any reason, because the fact that the angels on the Prophet Salal-lahu Alaihi Wasalam, he did not enter the house in which there were images, indicates that it is makruh. They did not like it. And moreover, when you say that this being makruh, it may reach the level of being haram if entering church will lead to any bad consequences, such as if it means approving of the Christian shirk and their claim that Allah has a wife and a son, as exalted be Allah as far above that, or if entering the church is a sign of taking the Christian friends and loving them and so on, so this will become haram. Okay, so we can say that if you are showing to the church, if you are going out the church, it is just to show the tolerance and lenience, then it is not permissible. But if it is done to call them to Islam and create opportunities for you to do so, and you will not be taking part in their worship, and you are not afraid that you may be influenced by the beliefs or custom, then it is permissible. Okay, so that is what we can say about going to church. So mostly we can say that it is makruh, to enter church unnecessarily, and it is haram to enter church where you find that you are going there to support them, or doing shirk. Now there's another question, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, which is question number 5. Question number 5, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And this question number 5, it was asking, can a Muslim visit a Christian who is sick? So now when we come now to visit a Christian who is sick, we say that it is permissible to visit him with the intention of calling him to Islam and telling him about Islam. And this is now the moderate approach to the matter, because it is not right to disallow that altogether, as there is no evidence to that effect. And in fact, that goes against also the Sahih evidence. And saying that it is permissible in absolute terms, just without having the intention of calling them to Islam, then it is subject to further discussion. And the only option now is to say that it is permissible to visit him, to tell him about Islam, or if there is a hope that he will embrace Islam. So maybe you find that there is a Christian who is sick, and he is you can see that there is a sign of him to accept Islam. So you go to him and then you visit him, and Alhamdulillah, it's allowed to visit him, and then you talk to him about Islam a little bit. When you're talking, just conversation, having conversation, put it having the intention that we want to talk about to him about Islam, to tell him to embrace Islam, tell him about the teachings for a Muslim to visit a sick person. And when you're explaining it to him, and he will get a lot of knowledge about Islam, and he may enter and he may embrace Islam in that case. So if you see that there's a sign of this person embracing Islam, then you should go, alhamdulillah. Okay, so it was narrated in Sahih al-Bukhari through Hamad ibn Zayd from Thabit from Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, who said that there was a Jewish boy who used to serve the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he fell sick, and the Prophet Salal-lahu Alaihi Wasalam, he came to visit him, and he sat at his head and said to him, embrace Islam. The boy, he looked towards his father who was with him. His father said, obey Abu Qasim. And so he embraced Islam, and the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam went out saying, praise be to Allah who has saved him from the fire. So far we find that we learn a number of things from this hadith. The first is that the good attitude of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Number two is his eagerness to guide people. And number three, that if a Jew he dies following Judaism, he is a kafir who will abide forever in hellfire, and there is no dispute on this point from any of the scholars. The Prophet ﷺ said, by the one in whose hand is my soul, no one of this nation, Jew or Christian, hears of me, then dies not believing in that with which I have been sent, but he will be one of the people of hell. This is narrated by Muslim in his Sahih from hadith of Abu Huraira. Number fourth thing we learned is that it is okay to visit a Jew if there is a hope of achieving some interest thereby. Abu Dawood, may Allah have mercy on him, said, I had Imam Ahmad being asked about visiting a Jew or a Christian if he felt sick. He said, if he wants to call him to Islam, then yes, he should do that. So it was narrated in Al-Sahihain and elsewhere through Ibn Shihab, who said, Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, he told me that his father told him when Abu Talib was on his deathbed, the Messenger of Allah came to him and found Abu Jahl ibn Hisham and Abdullah ibn Abi Umayyah ibn al-Mughira with him. The Messenger of Allah he said, oh my uncle, say La ilaha illallah, a word for which I will bear witness for you before Allah. Abu Jahl and Abdullah ibn Abi Umayyah, he said, oh Abu Talib, are you turning away from the religion of Abu al-Muttalib? The Messenger of Allah he kept urging him to embrace Islam, and they kept repeating the same thing to him, until the last thing that Abu Talib said to them was on the path of Abu Talib, and he refused to say La ilaha illallah. The Messenger of Allah said, I shall certainly keep asking Allah to forgive you until I am told not to do that. Then Allah revealed the words in Surah Tawbah, that it is not proper for the Prophet and those who believe to ask Allah's forgiveness for the mushrikun, even though they be of kin. So this hadith indicates that one may visit a sick kafir relative. So you can see that here it is a sick kafir and he is a relative. If there is a hope that he may embrace Islam. And Al-Fadl ibn Ziyad, he said, I heard Ahmad ibn Hanbal being asked about a Muslim man visiting one of the mushrikeen who was sick, and he said, if you think that if you visit him whilst he is sick and tells him about Islam, then he may accept it, then let him visit him, as the Prophet ﷺ visited the Jewish boy who was sick and told him about Islam. So I find that we have to know and that if there is a Christian who is maybe he is among the, we can say among his relative, then you should visit him, and it is permissible to visit him as long as you will talk to him about Islam. As you see that now he may embrace Islam. Okay, so that is now what we can say bi-idhnillahi wa ta'ala. We go now to question number 6. Question number 6. So here now we have question 6, saying that can we read Quran in rainy time? And we find that we say that it is permissible to read the Quran in raining time. There's not a problem. Find raining is a great blessing from Allah to mankind, and we find that you can do a lot of things. You can do dua during the rain time, as Imam Shafi he said that dua is accepted during rainfall. And narrated in Sahal ibn Sa'ad radiallahu anhu that the Messenger of Allah said that two will not be rejected, and that is a supplication when the adhan is being called and at the time of the rain. Okay, this is in Mustadrak al-Hakim and Abu Dawud and Ibn Majah. So you find that we should seek the response to du'as when the arm is made and the prayer is called, and when the rains they fall. That is reported by Imam al-Shafi in al-Okay. Now the time of also the rain, it is a time of mercy from Allah. So one, you should take advantage of this time when you find that Allah He is having mercy on His slave, and He can take that time and read the glorious Quran. The next question is in question number 7. He wanted to know about the Abu Huraira hadith. So usually this question is talking on about that Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, he has narrated many hadith. Now the thing is that before there were any collection of hadith like of Sahih al-Bukhari and that of Sahih Muslim, was there any hadith collection from the early Islam? And the answer is that there are early hadith collection, and one of the claims it hurled at Muslim by this Christian missionary and hadith rejectors are that they say that there are no hadith collection from early Muslim, and according to them hadith it came into existence 250 to 300 years after the Prophet Muhammad Salal-lahu Alaihi Wasalam when he died, But inshallah tonight, because our sister here, when she asked that question, she wanted to know about Abu Huraira hadith collection. And during the first century, there was a hadith collection, and there was a student of Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu who was called Sahifa. The student is called Hammam Munabi. Hammam Munabi was a student of Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, and in that we are getting the earliest hadith collection, which is called Sahifa Munabi, which was written by that student of Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu. And this book name, it is called Sahifa Hammam Munabi. And you find that there were some of the professors who were American, and they are saying that in this Sahifa of Hammam Munabi, it was at around very much before, and it has this hadith collection book. It has a collection of 138 hadith that dates from around the end of the 1st century after Hijrah, and it contains some 18 divine sayings. So you find that that is now hadith Qudsi. Another person who commented on about this book of Sahifa of Hammam Munabi, who was a Yemenite follower and a disciple of companion Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, from whom Hammam he learned, and he wrote the Sahifa, which comprised 138 hadith and is believed to have written around the mid-1st or 7th century. So it is significant that Hammam, he introduces his text with the words Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, he told us in the course of what he related from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasalam, thus giving the source of his information in the manner which became known as the Isnad or Sanad. That is the teacher or the chain of teachers through whom an author he reaches the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasalam, which is a practice invariably and systematically followed in the hadith in the compilations. Now, when you find that when she asked that question, I answered to her that way. So then she asked ahead to me that she learned that, but how fast did you know Abu Huraira memorized the hadith? Because I learned that he collected hadith even than Aisha and Abu Bakr anhu and others, and he only lived with the Prophet ﷺ for just 3 years. People are now saying that his hadith, there are many of them, they are fabricated. So I need more explanation on that. Now really you find that there are some of the Shia people, Shia sect, who are saying about this thing. So we are going to answer, how did Abu Huraira narrate many hadith? We find that the respectable Sahaba who is called Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu is the target of many attacks by the hadith rejectors and the Shias, and they say, how can Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu narrate so many hadith when he was the Prophet 3 years only, and yet all the senior companions were with him a lot longer, but yet didn't narrate this much hadith. So we're going to answer this misconception, and I'll take a little bit more time bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, because this is a very important issue. This is a very important issue. Many of us, we have been having these issues, especially when we are talking with the Quran, hadith rejectors. I find that from the beginning of Islam, Muhammad's words and the deeds, they were of the utmost interest to his followers. and he was the unquestioned exemplar of the faith and piety in Islam, and the bridge between the God and the temporal world, temporal dunya. So these companions who knew how to write, they tried to record the memorable statements or the actions of the Prophet Salal-lahu Alaihi Wasalam. As the paper, it was unknown in that Middle East at the time, as we know that it was introduced from China in the late 700s. The small notebooks they compiled, which is called sahifas, would have consisted of papyrus or parchments, which is parchment now is like a tanned animal skin, and both were very expensive, or they also used cruder substances such as palm fronds. And although there is some evidence that the Prophet ﷺ ordered the collection of his rulings on taxation, these sahifas, they were not public documents. Okay, they were private notes of the individual companions. And some of the companions they recorded as having a sahifa, they were Jabir bin Abdullah, Ali bin Abu Talib, Abu Huraira anhu, and Abdullah bin Amr bin al-As radiyallahu anhu. May Allah be pleased with them all. Certain companions are more active in amassing, memorizing, and writing down hadith than others, and we often find that it is often the most junior companion, the most small companions, the most who are very much junior. What meaning junior? They were very much, not very much childish, so they are the most junior companions of the Prophet, who became the most prolific collectors of hadith. And Abu Huraira anhu, as we know, who knew the Prophet for only 3 years, he is the largest single source for hadith, with approximately 5,300 narrations in the latter hadith collection, although he did not write hadith down in his early career. By his death, Abu Huraira had boxes full of sahifas he had compiled. Abdullah bin Umar, who was the son of Umar bin al-Khattab, was 23 years old when the Prophet ﷺ died, and is the second largest source for hadith, with approximately 2,600 narrations recorded in later collections. Ibn Abbas radhiyallahu anhu was only 14 years old, or 9 according to some sources, when the Prophet ﷺ died. He is the 5th largest source, with around 1,700 hadith. And since the companion like Ibn Abbas and Abu Huraira radhiyallahu anhu, they only knew the Prophet ﷺ for a short time, they apparently amassed their number of hadith by seeking them out from the senior companions. So you can see we have given you the answers. We have mentioned that the companions like Abu Huraira radhiyallahu anhu, they were very much junior, but had they were able to collect more hadith, as we know that they did not write down. He did not write down, but when he died, before he died, we find that in his house he had a lot of sahifas compiled within himself. That means he wrote a lot of hadith. That's a very important point of mention here. Another point of mention here is that Abu Huraira anhu, you find that he was very much writing hadith within himself, but also he was seeking also other hadith from the senior companions, because the senior companions are not writing down, and that's why Abu Huraira radhiyallahu anhu, it is thus rarely recorded He is thus recorded as saying, so what did he say? So that is what he said, that I heard the Prophet Salal-lahu Alaihi Wasalam say, the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam say, and more often he simply states indirectly that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said. Just as today we regularly quote people whom we did not hear directly, this would have been normal for the companions. The obsession with specifying direct oral transmission with no intermediary, which characterized later hadith scholars, it did not exist during the first generation of Islam. Now you find that we are going now, we have seen here at least 3 points that I can say, Alhamdulillah. That first one is that he was not a person who was writing down a lot of hadith in his earlier career, but by his death we found that he had a lot of sahifas compiled with himself. And then how did he compile the sahifas? How did he write all that? Sahifas now is like a book at that time, like a notepad, you can say. And you find that what we learned is that he learned this hadith from the senior companions. That's another statement we can know. And the senior companions, we find that they were laudable, they were very much knowledgeable in the hadith, and they taught Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu about hadith. And also we go ahead and we understand and we learn that what he was saying is that he was stating indirectly. He will state indirectly that the Prophet said, the Prophet said. So this shows that he learned many of hadith from he learned many of hadith from the companions. But even though he stayed with the Prophet within 3 years. Now let us see what Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu he says about himself. Narrated Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu that the people, they say that I have narrated many hadith, many of the Prophet's narrations. Had it not been for 2 verses in the Quran, I would not have narrated a single hadith. And the verses are, verily those who conceal the clear sign and the guidance which we have sent down. Up to that is now in Surah Baqarah, verse number 159 to 160. And no doubt our muhajir or immigrant brothers, they used to be busy in the market with their business, and our Ansari brothers, they used to be busy with their property. But I, now Abu Huraira is narrating, say that Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu is talking here, you have to know. He said, but I, Abu Huraira, I used to stick to Allah Azza. I used to stick to Allah's Apostle Sallallahu Alaihi Wasalam. That he used to stick with the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasalam. Okay. What did he do with the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasalam? Contented with what will fill my stomach, and I used to attend that which they used not to attend, and I used to memorize that which they used not to memorize. That is in Sahih al-Bukhari, volume 1, book 3, and the hadith is number 118. So we find that really Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, he is explaining himself by mentioning that he is a person who was contented with what he had in his stomach. So he used not to get out a lot with other people, but he used to just stick with the companion, with the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because of the fact that he wanted to gain knowledge, wanted to learn hadith from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Within 3 years you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot from the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and that is one of the evidence that really shows us that Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, he can narrate more hadith even than Abu Bakr and Aisha radiallahu anha. So that is very much one of the example that shows us that Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, he narrated more hadith. We go to another hadith of Abu Huraira. and it says that narrated Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu, and the people they say that I narrate too much narrations of the Prophet Salal-lahu Alaihi Wasalam. So once I met a man during the lifetime of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and I asked him, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he recited yesterday, what did the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam recite yesterday in the Isha prayer? So that person he said that I don't know. So Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu, he said, did you not attend the prayer? And we find that the person is said, yes, I did. Then Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu said that I know he recited such and such surah. Again, this shows that so this is in the Sahih Bukhari in volume 2, and the hadith is number 314. What you understand from this hadith is that Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu, how did he narrate more narrations is because of the fact that he was very much focused in the prayer even of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, while the other companions who even they attended the Isha with the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they did not memorize what the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam recited from the Quran. But Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu, he knew, he was very much focused in learning. You can see that focusing of learning from the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Again, this shows us that Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu was very much focused in learning the hadith from the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself, and that is why we are seeing him narrating many hadith more than even other companions. Another hadith we want to mention here is that, so there are many hadith really in Sahih Bukhari which shows us that Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu, how did he gain knowledge from the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Like one, it says here that you find that how did this Ansar people, why did they not gain more hadith from the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? And the reason he's saying is that because they used to forget while Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu used to remember. I can see even that in Sahih Bukhari volume 3 in book 34, and the number of hadith is 263. You can go and see it. Also another from Ibn Shihab transmitted, also that one where Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu said that. So also that hadith, it says that the Muhajir and Ansar, why did they not narrate hadith like Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu? And Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu, he classified and said that this Ansar, they are remaining busy with their work, with their transaction, with their bazaar, and while Abu Huraira, he used to just remain present in the company of the Holy Prophet ﷺ while they were absent. And Abu Huraira, he used to retain in his mind, while those people, they used to forget. That's another reason. And also you find that Abu Huraira also, he used to be a very good person with a very good memory, and that is also another reason. So you find that also another people, they ask that how come none of the Sahabas, the senior ones, never narrated as many hadith as the Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu did? And Professor Jonathan Brown, he says the following on this. Hear it nicely. He says, interestingly, those companions who spent more time or most time with the Prophet ﷺ during his public life rank among the least prolific hadith transmitters. The Prophet ﷺ close friend and successor Abu Bakr anhu, or we can say even his cousin or son-in-law Ali bin Abi Talib anhu, and close advisor Umar ibn al-Khattab anhu, they are the sources for only 142 hadith for Abu Bakr, 536 is for Ali radiallahu anhu, and 537 is for Umar radiallahu anhu. These prominent early Muslims who were looked to as leaders responsible for decision on religious rulings after the Prophet Salal-lahu Alaihi Wasalam death seem to have preserved the spirit of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam teachings in their actions and method of reasoning, rather than by citing these hadith directly. So if you think we have explained it the best way possible, and we find that most of the Sahabas, they were too busy with their lives, while Abu Huraira, he was constantly with the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam throughout the last 3 years of his life. And another thing to note, as we have seen from Jonathan Brown, is that Abu Huraira, he never got all the hadith directly from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Most of it was reported through other companions that were with the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam a little bit longer. So this is the reason, Alhamdulillah, Shukrullah. If anyone has any more question regarding this, they can still ask. And we find that that was question number 7 answered. There's still remaining 4 questions, question 8, 9, 10, 11, and inshallah I want to just finish this one because you can see that's taking longer. So you find that this part 2 of our Q&A session, it will be uploaded on Wednesday, which is in 26 July 2017, okay? And then inshallah on 30th July, which is on Sunday, inshallah, we are going to have our last, our part 3 of our Q&A session, inshallah. And we have very big things to discuss on about, Alhamdulillah. And inshallah, I will answer them all in the way that is best. And may Allah help us all. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
تناجي الله في صبر وترجو رحمة تسري فعاش القلب إخلاصا وصرت تحوم كالطير تحلق في ثقافات وتنهل من ربى الخير ترى ما زلت تذكرها وتذكر روعة الذكر فيهدي القلب ألحانا شذاها يفوح بالصدر ويصفو العلم راقراقا ويسقي دوحة العمر.